there is this narrative out there that, well, maybe they'll just, I mean, I even saw Dave Meltzer sort of freestyle this, and he said that, Rock main eventing against Roman was part of the deal. When they brought him onto the board and gave him $30 million worth of stock, that was all part of the deal, that he was going to wrestle Roman and get his trademarks back. By the way, take a look at 83 Weeks this week with Eric Bischoff. We show you all the trademarks The Rock got back. A lot of the media just thought he just got The Rock. He got a lot more than that. We actually provide you a link where you can actually see all the trademarks The Rock got.
Oh, wow.
My man knows how to negotiate. He knows how to use some leverage. He got a great deal for himself, and I'm thrilled for him to do that. But I am saying, I can't help but wonder when I saw Dave Meltzer's report that this was all promised, to The Rock, and not promised, but established when they brought The Rock back. I just don't think they expected this sort of backlash. I don't think they expected that many dislikes or hashtag We Want Cody to be trending on Twitter for 2 whole days at number 1. I shouldn't say nobody. The Rock just probably never imagined that because it's never happened to him before. But I think you've got to be careful with that. And you and I have talked about this before, consumer confidence. Because if you come in now, and I really want to, as we're winding the show down, talk about those promos, because the promo that Roman cut about Cody and his quest for the title, I guess really specifically Seth's title, I don't know what you would call that. I mean, you've talked at the early start of this program about a money promo. Well, Roman basically came out and said, that belt's the loser belt. That's the loser bracket belt. I beat everybody over there. That's the loser belt. They work 10 times more and make 10 times less money than me. All of that may be true. I know it's another worksheet promo. I know it gets people talking, but it shits on the belt. And it's almost like, as a fan, well, if that's really the loser belt, why should I care about it? I had a hard time wrapping my head around Seth's promo and Roman's promo. What do you think of Roman's promo saying that's the loser belt?
Well, before I get into what I think of Roman's promo, let's jump back a little bit and you said something to the effect, I don't think they expected this many dislikes. I would love for you to respond, or maybe, what do you think? What did they expect for when Rock took Cody's? What do you think they expected to happen?
I think they thought, and listen, my buddy was at that show in Birmingham where The Rock came back.
Yeah.
And he said it's the loudest pop he's ever heard at any wrestling show in the state of Alabama as long as he's been going to shows.
Wow.
That said, Jeff, you and I just know that's a Pavlovian response whenever there is a surprise return from any debut or returning legend. We're going to cheer that. I don't think everybody understood the implication of what that meant at the time necessarily. They're just like, oh my God, The Rock's here. And they cheer. Because unfortunately, The Rock's daughter, when they brought her out at the NXT pay-per-view on Sunday, not only did they boo her, they started chanting Cody. And that's not fair to her. When at a live event in Knoxville, when they recapped the promo with Roman, Cody, and The Rock returning, the fans booed. That's not what they want. Nobody wants to boo The Rock.
Okay, so I was asking, what did they expect?
They thought people are going to be like, oh my God, it's the biggest star in the world against the longest reigning champ. Here we go.
Well, and here's kind of my own personal experience with this. It was in the Q4, fourth quarter of 2009. Dixie sent me home, did the power play. It had nothing to do, in hindsight, nothing to do with my personal life. It had everything to do with Jeff's the boss. I don't want him the boss anymore, so I'm going to take control. One of the reasons I said that is in that during this time when I was off, I got a call and basically said, I won't get too long-winded here. Hey, Jeff, can you go to Tampa with me? Sure, Dixie. Why? We're going to meet with Hulk and Eric. Okay, great. The world knew, and I'm saying the TNA world, Bob Carter on down, I definitely wanted Hulk Hogan a part of the product. The ambassador, the licensing, the international doors, his brand associated with TNA, blah, 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 blah. Okay, got down there, had our kind of chit chats and this and that and this and that. Me and Dixie go back to the airport, fly home. Anyway, so Dixie wanted to use me as that. And long story short, Hogan came on board. Hogan and Eric, when they got to TNA, it was very, very, very obvious that they had never watched a full episode of TNA. Never. They had no context on who AJ Styles was. They didn't care who AJ Styles was, let alone the rest of the roster. They immediately started knocking the six-sided ring, and I could go on and on and on and on and on. But whatever the brand was built off of, they wanted to tear down because they wanted to replace it with their regime and their talent and the Nasty Boys and Orlando Jordan and whoever else that came along with them, because they wanted to do it what they were comfortable with. And look, I'm guilty of that. Anybody's guilty of that, doing what you feel comfortable. I think that's what you're saying, is that not by malice, but the context, they had no idea.
They didn't watch. That's all it is. They just hadn't been watching the show. And let's talk about this. Do you remember when The Rock's last match was, if you can call it that?
I don't.
It was 2016, WrestleMania 32 in Dallas. It was a surprise. It was unannounced. He came out and he beat Eric Rowan in 6 seconds. You know who else was on that card? Stardust.
Wow.
The last time The Rock was walking around backstage at a show where he wrestled a match, Cody's putting paint on, dressing up, cosplaying as Goldust, as Stardust. So I'm just saying, The Rock's perception of where Cody was in 2016 and where it is now, that's not the same performer. That's not the same guy. The fan base doesn't talk about Stardust anymore. I mean, I'm just saying, I think what you just said hits the nail on the head. When Hogan came in, he and Bischoff looked to what they were familiar with and what they knew from before. They weren't as interested in what had been happening because, hey, we're here to pull the nose up on this thing and make it even bigger and level up. So we go with what we know. But Cody's not Stardust anymore. Cody's the top merch seller in the entire business for the calendar year 2023.
Yeah.
And I know that man, people have been dunking on me, and you even started the show by saying, hey, how are your thumbs? Here's what I know. If we're not careful, this is bad for the wrestling business. If we're not careful, it's not just bad for Cody. I want to take you back in time. And I realize this is not apples to apples. Or apples, you know, it's apples and pomegranates, as Bruce likes to say. But they had an opportunity to do something to replace Hulk Hogan with Lex Luger with the Lex Express. They gave him the win at SummerSlam over Yoko, but not the title. And people felt like they lost their opportunity. But other people who maybe were glass half full thinkers, delusional optimists, as a friend of mine says, said, oh, well, they'll fix it at WrestleMania. Because when he and Brett went over the top at the exact same time, oh, okay, they're both going to get a shot at WrestleMania. They beat Lex there again at WrestleMania. And after that, he was in a random tag team with Davey Boy, and a year later, out of there and over in WCW, never to return. Timing is important. And you've got this consumer confidence now with Cody. And if you've told us for 2 years, he's finishing the story, and you've marketed video games to us that way, and he set live event records, and he set merch records, and he's the guy. And then you pull the rug out from under him, and it's like, nope, we're just going to have him beat that guy he already beat with one arm. And the guy he's wrestling now has one leg. With this new belt we just created out of thin air, that's not the story. It just doesn't make sense. And there's other people who say, let it play out. Maybe what they'll do is they'll get through WrestleMania and then they'll unify the belts. I saw a lot of people speculating they could do a big SummerSlam with Cody versus Roman, title versus title. I just don't understand. What?
Well, just my world is fascinating this week. My world, it's aptly named. My experience was, and you just made something, because I think it's in the DNA of what you believe and others believe. Hulk and Eric were going to come in TNA to pull the nose up. The reality is 2008 and 9 were the most profitable years in the history of TNA. We didn't need a nose pulled up. We wanted to keep rising and going up and going up and going up. And like you said, there were certain, TNA pivoted all right. They went from bad to worse to even more worse and even more worse, and is essentially out of business. Dixie had to give it away. So as you say that, we've talked about it in depth. Nick Khan masterminding. I mean, we could, there's multiples, but from Saudi to WrestleMania 2 nights and keep escalating up, and the NXT deal, and Monday night Raw going to Netflix, and Friday night, SmackDown going to NBC, just the business move after business move. Though, again, they'll pivot or they'll tweak, and I'm not sure exactly what it is, because as we've said over and over and over, to their defense, they didn't have it on their bingo card to watch Raw and SmackDown every week. And with the new regime in, I don't think the existing regime is going to say anything to anybody and say, hey, I don't know if I would do that. They don't want to go against the new boss. It's interesting. It's a fascinating perspective for me and you and others to be sitting here observing this. And I damn sure want to sit under the learning tree. That's all I'll say. I want to observe all this. I can't believe they turned off the dislikes. I don't know what the upside to that is. It's already set a record. So what? Keep getting the feedback.
By the way, The Rock has taken all this in stride. I think he put a message out that said, I got thick skin, love the passion.
Yeah.
He gets it. He's an ultimate business guy. I just think it was
a hell of a heel in his career too. We don't know if that isn't in the cards.
Oh, come on, no. He can't be doing live action cartoons for kids and then be a bad guy here. That's not what they want.
Yes, he can.
I know he can, but it's probably best for business if you have this beloved person being a beloved person.
Okay.
I mean, and let me say this, because I know we're running up on time here, and we've been talking forever about this, and it's all going to change. You know what I mean? Like, I think they got to pivot. I've been told they're not, but I think they will. I want to know, in your perspective,
oh boy,
what happens when you give one person creative control?
Oh,
because listen, a lot of times there's been a lot of discussion about WCW back in the day and about this guy had creative control. But you and I have had a conversation before when there were no mics around about what creative control when one person really means in execution. Can you share that with everybody?
Folks, this was old Connie standing on business. And that's no cap.
I love you for that.
Oh, Conrad. It is very simple. Connie asked me, my beloved co-host, what happens when you give just one person creative control? You give them the keys to the castle. There's no gray area, because when you have one guy that can do and come and write as he pleases, it affects the entire domino effect. There's no such thing as, oh, I'm just going to write my stuff. No. That, because there's dominoes. Oh, if you don't like how a program's going 2 weeks in, 3 weeks in, you're going to pivot and say, no, I want to work with this guy. Well, then those dominoes fall. It's turning the keys of the castle over, period.
To be clear, if Rock wants to wrestle Roman, that changes Roman's creative. True or false?
True.
It changes Seth's creative. True or false?
True.
It changes Cody's creative. True or false?
True.
It changes whoever Seth's opponent was going to be's creative. True or false?
True.
So creative
it's all the way down, literally, to NXT.
All the way down. To the point where they're booing his daughter for no reason. That's unnecessary.
That's a shame.
And the timing of when she became the GM may or may not have been around the same time that he came back. I don't know. We'll see.